Man, oh man, tweets are going out. It's getting weird. Come on now. Week 8, baby. Week 8. Week 8, and we welcome you in to a Week 8 edition of the 4th and 1 podcast. I'm your co-host, Coach Trey. We are proudly representing our boys as they are planning, hopefully planning on not doing another walk-off loss for the Bronx Bombers. But I am currently sitting next to a hat-wearing, festive shirt-wearing. I've never seen you wear a. When's the last time I've seen you wear a hat?
So I've been for the last week or two, and sneaking vouch to this. I've been like, I need to find a good hat. Like, I just haven't wore a hat in forever.
Dude, let me help.
So shout out to the Tyler Pat once for the get up, and two for housing me this weekend. Having some automobile issues, and he's got always a dope setup in his room with some good merch behind for LSU. So shout out to the homies at the crib. But yeah,
let's go. And I guess the best way to start is to kind of pivot back to what we just saw, a weekend of. So it started with. And I've said this line before, right? And it's the field rush fade. And we'll get to that in a second on like why that didn't matter. There was a couple of sharps that talked about why the field rush fade maybe wouldn't have hit. And so my first bet of the weekend lost last week. And that was thinking that Vanderbilt was going to get taken to the woodshed by Kentucky. And that didn't happen. So the first question of the show is Vanderbilt good?
I think several people told me, hey, like fading Kentucky and betting Vanderbilt, it's going to be the biggest bet of the weekend. And like, I was like, yeah, I get it. It makes sense. Big game, but like, we're in such a different era right now. Like, traditionally, I agree. Maybe they just found their stride. And I think that's where we're at. The SEC math and the logistics do not add up at all right now. I mean, the fact that Vanderbilt's beaten both Bama and Kentucky, Bama's beaten Georgia, Kentucky had a close game with Georgia, Kentucky beat Ole Miss. Kentucky did beat Ole Miss. So it's all messed up right now, and it's going to get even crazier this weekend. I mean, we have so many good matchups in the SEC specifically. I think like almost every game in the SEC this weekend is really good, and it's going to be meaningful. So it's crazy in the streets right now, for sure.
I guess, oh boy. So I think Diego Pavia is kind of like the straw that stirs this drink, and I'm not really like big on. Because if we play recency bias, then we would all be shocked that Tennessee is, kind of falling back to grace. And so I kind of just have to call it how I see it, though, man. They're not bad.
They're not. No. I mean, they've outplayed two good SEC schools in the last two games, and I'm not going to go ahead and make the comparison, but I'm seeing a lot of Bo Nix. I'm not gonna say Tim Tebow yet, but like a very small percentage of that. Like, that's the kind of player I think he is, and he's made a huge impact with that school. I don't know what classification he is. I don't think he's a senior, but I could be wrong. Don't fact check me on that, and I'm not gonna spend the time to go look it up. We've got a lot to talk about today. To me, I kind of just want to start with. A little bit with the recap with LSU Ole Miss, and then let's get into the game with Arkansas. Okay. Let's just hear your thoughts first. You were at the game, boots on the ground.
Oh my God!
What were your thoughts, reactions to the game?
So there was never a time in that game where anyone felt comfortable. If anybody that was watching that game felt like LSU was going to win the game, they were lying to you. Like it never felt like no matter what you did, it just wasn't enough. Because if I were to have told you, hey man, they're going to go into OT and it's because LSU's defense held Ole Miss to like 3 points in the second half, and their offense couldn't get it going all game consistently, you would have called me a fool. And so I think what you're seeing now is that the kids are playing fast. And so we kind of talked about this, right? And we talked about this as far as like when Harold Perkins goes down with the injury. Does that mean that they're better because you kind of Isaiah Simmons yourself with Harold Perkins and you didn't know where to put him? The answer is no. You're not really better, but you could be more defined. And so what I think you're seeing with these guys is that Blake Baker is telling them, listen, read, react, go. There's no more where do I need to be? There's no more or as of last week now, because this changes, game plan to game plan. But from what I saw, it felt like you saw people seeing ball, hitting ball, and making plays. And there were a couple of gap fits that you just didn't hit. Like you saw Sage Ryan come down from the box. You saw him come straight down, try to attack somebody in the hole, and the running back comes out. And I mean, I can't remember if it was Ulysses or not, but or Henry. I can't remember. I think it was Ulysses Bentley. And he literally just jab step, goes into the other hole, and he takes it for 35. I think it was a big run. It was Ulysses Bentley, and he takes it 35 to the crib. So you're still getting stuff like that, but what you're not seeing is that I don't know where I'm supposed to be and like open palms up in the air. So I think that's the first thing that I think has to be highlighted. I think the defense is playing with the mentality of I feel like I know where I'm going to be and I'm running to where I think that I should be. And dude, now they're right. Like now they're right. And so you're getting unbelievable play from Whit Weeks, unbelievable play from Braden Swinson. Your edges are playing, dude, the hand, and I'm not a defensive line coach, but you're seeing aggressive, angry hands from the interior. Like you're seeing things that you just frankly just didn't see a year ago. And so it's because of that it kind of caught Ole Miss off guard a little bit. And to be honest, I feel like Lane was playing with like the house money that you've seen him do before, just going for it. I mean, you saw a turnover on downs within the first quarter inside the red zone. So to cap that, I also think that LSU, if you're going to win a game based on your defense, you can't have your offense have 50% completion percentage. Like Nuss finally scrambled out of the pocket and he ends up converting on a third and 13. Like, if they're going to win games moving forward, it's going to have to be because you're doing things out of the normal and what the film doesn't tell you. And that's with a Trey'Dez Green getting moved to receiver. That's with Nussmeier when they're playing cover 2. Please, for the sake of God, everybody, including me, who's not a college coach, can tell you when they're playing too high like that, and you've got your middle linebackers and your corners playing man, that there's going to be the middle of the field open. So run to it and slide. Just get down. And Russo, he's not slow. He runs like he runs a sub 540. Is it probably like a 4.7, 4.8? Like, he's not slow. He's every bit as fast as Joe is or was. And so what I think the difference with Joe is that Joe wasn't afraid to run it. And I just think that Garrett's mentality is next receiver. And that's fine because that's what the NFL wants. But if they're going to do what they are supposed to do or want to do, he's going to have to take off. Because if your offensive line doesn't, it plays a good D-line like what you did when Walter Nolan was tossing salads all night and the running backs can't hit holes, Nuss is going to have to take off. So I think it was a good game for the defense to get them out of it. And so that's like a 4-minute long soliloquy of me telling you that the defense stepped up, the offense had a bad game, and you still found a way to win when you were supposed to, and you made the plays that counted to the receiver that has been like that in Aaron and then Kyron, back-to-back plays, and it was Garrett's best 2 throws of the night on back-to-back plays.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you surmised it perfectly. I think I told you this. I told several other people that I was watching the game with was that like I was just so I wouldn't say like emotional, like I wasn't crying or anything, but like I was like so freaking happy for the defense. Like after like the final sack or like the 5th sack, I was just like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And I agree. I think Blake Baker has to be credited with putting these guys in the right spots, as you mentioned, and you're not seeing a lot of those huge plays being given up. I think that's just going to continue to get better. The more games you play, the better you get. This is a huge product of that. We'll see how that translates to this weekend, which let's just get to it. Arkansas, Ole Miss battle for the boot. Traditionally, always a close game. I think over the last 3 games, it's been a field goal difference. Even with Jaden Daniels playing the last 2 years. And it's a different kind of threat, if Taylon Green plays, which I think he's active.
I think he's playing, dude. He's playing.
I would be shocked if he's not playing. Taylon Green provides a threat that needs to be watched. His legs are very good. He runs the ball very well for a quarterback. Not to mention, they've got Jaquindon Jackson, who did he go to high school in Louisiana?
I'm not sure.
I wasn't 100% sure, but that team is going to provide a different threat than what Ole Miss did. And you saw in the Ole Miss game, Jackson Dart kind of tore us up on the ground. Now, he's not traditionally a great runner, like a run first quarterback, but he is known to have some wheels. So it's going to be different. And I think if you can stack the box and take your chances on these one-on-ones, I think they'll be well. But like you look at the spread, it's 2.5, and you think of it and you're like, I guess fade the field rush. But both of these teams are coming off of a field rush game, technically.
Correct.
One, Arkansas obviously got a bye, but both of these teams are coming off of huge wins. I think for me, Tennessee, the Tennessee thing's weird, right? Because Tennessee, there wasn't a bounce back. Alabama, there wasn't a bounce back. You were expecting specifically those two teams, Tennessee and Bama, to bounce back from their losses. You just didn't see that in either game, specifically Tennessee going to overtime against Florida, who I mentioned last week I was impressed with. And we had this conversation with who's closer between, Texas, Oklahoma, and them in Tennessee. I mean, I don't know. That goes into this whole thing with the SEC math. I have no idea anymore. You really can't look at one game as the end-all, be-all.
No.
And not even the season.
Because everyone's beating everyone.
So, at first glance, I'm 2.5. I feel like LSU's the better team. But it's a road game. It is a field rush fade. But it's a huge game. If you're LSU, this is it's one game at a time.
Right.
Just you realistically have a chance to make the playoff, even with a second loss. And you can't have that second loss here. There's 2 spots you can have it. There's just one is not here. You just can't. So it's a must-win game again. So that's why I feel like the whole field rush fade, the drop-off games, they're not happening like you saw with Vanderbilt. They're not happening as much because it's a different era, and the new playoff system, back in the day, 4 spots in the playoffs, you're pretty much done after one loss, right?
Right.
Now you're not. So now this is we're in it. You've gotta play hard. You've gotta treat this like a future with a playoff spot. So I have no idea. I would say I feel pretty confident betting LSU here, even with the points -2.5. What say you?
I feel the opposite. I don't think
we felt last game. We both felt this way. Yeah.
And I think the talking point all week for everyone has been the confidence that you have with LSU, the bye, the coming off the win, everything that you had last week now flips to Arkansas, and they have that same momentum. So it's you have the opposite feeling. I'm just so used to watching LSU play sleepy games at Arkansas. Now, I will say this is the earliest in the year they've played Arkansas in quite some time, so it's not quite as dreary, not quite as cold. It's not 33 degrees with with everybody seeing the breath from the cam. And listen, and I think it'll take quite a haul to beat really anybody in the SEC right now, because if LSU goes on the road to play at Jordan-Hare right now, they're what, 4.5 point favorite maybe. And that's I mean, you could probably. I mean, they go to Starkville right now. What do you think it is? 7.5, 8. Like is so now. So single digits is what's going to separate, teams right now. If unless you're Texas, right? Which Texas spreads are going to be inflated until they lose. And here's a news flash: I don't like them when they play A&M, but we'll get to that when that game comes. But I think you're going to be extremely, extremely unsurprised whenever you see Arkansas hanging around in this game, if not winning it late.
No,
and LSU has to claw back into it. I'm just used to it, Russo, and so that's why I say that.
But they accounted for it. Like typically, I think you're in the situation where you're explaining, maybe it's a touchdown or maybe it's more than what it is. But maybe this is it. I mean, this is a 2.5 point. Like this is going to be a game that is projected to do what you're saying.
Yes.
Landon Jackson, former recruit and member of the Tigers. You just know he's going to have a good game. I don't know. It's going to be tough. I feel pretty confident. I'm with you. I'm not going to be shocked if Arkansas finds a way to win this game. I'm going to be disappointed because there's a new freshness to this season now. So yeah, I pray we don't have to go here next week and talk about, now we're in the same spot as week 1, having to, dig yourself out of a hole. T-Pat, we'll get to the Vols in a second. I wanted to specifically shout out 2 teams that are both in the top 25 for maybe the first time ever together, and that's Army and Navy. Quick shout out.
We were on them early.
Over it. Army's killing it. I mean, looking at their last 5, they've got to be covering the spread in every one of these games too. I mean,
I told you about them. Do they throw it now?
Navy does, right? Yes. I don't know if Army does as much.
No, but Navy does.
Navy does too? Okay, they both do. Oh, then yeah. I mean, both of these teams are incredible right now, deservingly in the top 25. Just wanted to shout them out. Hopefully, if they keep winning, this is going to be an awkward
playoff implications coming
from after because the game is
from Armed Force schools, dude.
Yeah. So, shout out to both of those schools. Just wanted to mention that. We can get into Tennessee. It is the 2:30 game against Bama at Tennessee. Bama is a -3 favorite. That's what the spread opened at, and that's what it is currently at.
They're favored for a reason. I like Alabama in the game.
Both of these teams, like I mentioned earlier, were expected to have good comeback games and just didn't. So now we're looking at situations where they're 1-1 in their last 2. Both won their last game, but not convincingly. 2, I wouldn't say mid teams, but I mean South Carolina, Florida. I mean bottom SEC teams. What are your thoughts here? You said you like Bama. Why and how? Really?
I'll tell you why. So the reason why I like Bama is because Bama is right now, even though they've got issues, they've got, to me, if both teams were put in a vacuum, Bama's got more impressive tape than Tennessee. I know that it's on the road. I know that this is Kalen DeBoer's first time at Neyland. I understand those things. I know the last time that Alabama was in Neyland, it was a freaking barn burner. What does that have to do with this year, though? You're asking me to pick games based on what I've seen here lately. And lately, even though Alabama's got flaws, Alabama looks better than Tennessee, dude. There's no like one spot that I can like point to other than they're just on the road and can make mistakes. And that's why I think Tennessee can win the football game. But if I had to pick today, which because the game is tomorrow, I'm picking Alabama. And I think that Nico has got to get back to what they were doing. Coach Josh has to get back to putting them in position to be successful, which is going fast, in rhythm, boom, over the middle, run,
running ball
over the middle,
start, right?
Dude, I mean, they've got the horses to do it, and I think that they've just been hit by a buzzsaw because the film is out on them, and so that's why I think Alabama is going to be able to make plays late and win this football game on the road, and it's going to be a good win for them if they do. But if, again, just as confident as I'm not in LSU or to win the game, and I'm not confident in Arkansas to win or lose the game, I feel the same way about this one. I think that the better team is on the road, and the home team can find a way to win because of what that crowd noise is. You just saw it last weekend in Tiger Stadium. So, I mean, I'll take Bama. I don't know if I would take them in the points. It's not really worth the extra bit of money. So I would take Bama money line as of today, unless something comes out in the next 12 hours to make me feel differently.
I am not in agreement.
Okay.
I've got Tennessee winning this game.
Okay.
I think home field matters. It's a 2:30 game, right? So, I mean, it's not going to be like at night. It's not going to be, home field's not going to be, as rocking as it would in Tiger Stadium or Oregon last week. But to me, I think mainly, so like the win against Georgia, you can't discredit or discount it or overlook it, right? It was the most impressive win, one of the best wins of the season by any team in the country, right? If you take that game away, though, just like, I know you can't really do that, but if you do, it's not very impressive. They beat Wisconsin 42-10. Wisconsin's a maybe above average team in the Big Ten. I don't really know. They looked impressive last week. South Carolina, we've seen them, and they lost to Vandy. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what Bama is. I feel like I know what Tennessee is. Tennessee's got a really good roster. They weren't tested early, so they were putting up 60 to 70 points a game against bad teams. Finally ran into Oklahoma, struggled with them, struggled against Arkansas and lost, and then struggled before them and won in overtime. I think they have the offense, if they can figure this out, to win this game. Alabama, talent-wise, does have, the edge in talent. But their DBs, it's not reminding me of an LSU last year, because obviously that was horrific. Yeah. But they are weak. It's noticeable. They've got young guys. They might get better. I agree. They'll probably be better by the time they come to Tiger Stadium. But against a potential offense that can beat you in several ways, I just got to take Tennessee here, man. I think really a lot of Alabama's offense comes from large plays to Ryan Williams, who is a freak athlete, going to be crazy as time goes on. And honestly, I can easily see him having 150 yards against us in Tiger Stadium in a few weeks. I don't want to talk about that now, but if you can, have a safety over him, Dylan Sampson's a great running back. Nico's young, but he, I guess, I think he's enough. I think he's enough to beat this team. It's crazy. But I'm not going to be shocked. Whatever happens, I'm not going to be shocked.
That's what I'm saying. By the way, what are you doing for the game tomorrow night?
I'm going to be here at my buddies. Just all right. So worst case scenario, we can be talking a lot.
I just want to make sure we're in lockstep. By the way, you guys just witnessed a live studio broadcast of me trying to maybe hang out with one of my friends for the football game.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna. We don't want to speed past this since we're already 23 in. We're talking about it, right? This is the one we're going to talk about, the coup de grace. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you were to take a blind litmus test on how many games in a row Georgia has been favored, how many would you say?
Out of how many?
Just when's the last time Georgia wasn't favored in a football game?
I think they've probably maybe one in the last 30.
49 straight games, dude.
Except for now.
Russo, what are your thoughts? Because you have a
I
have an opinion, big homie.
I feel good. So I was with a good friend of the show, Snee, who is a huge Texas Longhorns fan. I did watch the game against Oklahoma last week, and I told him, you've got some quarterback issues right now. You just do. I watched that game. It was 34-3. Defense looked incredible. Defense played well against an offense that young quarterback can't really throw the ball well, relies on his feet a lot. Quinn Ewers did not look good. 20 for 29, 199, touchdown, interception. Stats were not bad. He had a few long passes that boosted those stats, but for the most part, especially at the beginning, and I get he was coming off an injury. He is historically known to be injured around this time of the season, right? I mean, it happened last year. I think they've got the wrong quarterback playing right now. I just do. I was calling for Arch to come start playing that game. I'm telling you, I get it. Quinn, the logistics, it doesn't make sense, right? But eye test, something does not look right with Quinn right now. I don't know if he's still hurt. He's playing hurt. It reminds me of midway through the season last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. Out to them when Jalen Hurts was firing on all cylinders, and all of a sudden you saw him grabbing at his thigh, like it looked like a thigh injury, and it wasn't talked about a lot. Obviously, I don't think he missed any time with it.
We talked about it.
We talked about it. It was noticeable, and after ever since then, it was like something changed since then, and I got that vibe watching the game last week. So to me, I am not at all confident in this line. I get it logistically. It makes sense because if you look at the attributes and the stats of a quarterback of the caliber of Quinn Ewers, I get it. It makes sense. But I'm just telling you, eye test last week, I want no part of that. I want nothing to do with that. So that's just me based on just one full game last week. It's fresh, right? Because I only watched one game. I haven't watched Quinn before that. I've watched him obviously in a few games last year. So thoughts for you.
So you're picking them.
Georgia.
Okay. Same.
Yeah.
Same. For different reasons. I think I have a really difficult time seeing Georgia. I just have a difficult time in my mind picturing Georgia losing 2 regular season games. I know that I said earlier in the year that they could. I just don't know. As it stands currently, I think Texas and Georgia are lagniappe as far as talent. I just don't think that the jump up from the best team that Texas has played, who you would say would be who? Who's the best team that Texas has played so far? Who would you say?
And you look at the schedule and you're like, well, they beat the defending champs and they've got number 18 Oklahoma on here.
Who is it?
I'd say, I don't know between those two.
Michigan and Oklahoma play on neutral field in Jerry's World. What's the spread?
Probably Michigan by a field goal.
Okay. So the Michigan's the best team that they've beaten. If Alabama plays Michigan on a neutral field,
6.
Okay. So if we're going to play the spread game and play the Vegas game, do you think that the step up of the best team that Texas has played and the best team that Georgia has played is the same? The answer is obviously not.
No, I agree.
To be favored by a touchdown in this year's college football, you're 90s across the board versus 86s across the board if we're going by college football metrics. You know what I'm saying? So I think the best team Georgia's obviously played is certainly Alabama. So I just don't think that Georgia is going to be as shocked by how good Texas is, that Texas will be about how much better Georgia is than Michigan. And so the difference though is why I think it'll be closer than that is because this game is obviously at home. You've got Scotty of all people, my man, brother Scott, going to be on game day. The vibes are going to be immaculate. If they give If they give Scotty the headset, they're throwing a tutty because everything that man touches turns to gold. The amount of money that you could win if you just bet Scotty to win and get top 10 is stupid. Even though you pretty much have to like lose money forwardly to bet on him. But anyway, I like Georgia in the game. I don't think this is that confident of a play for me, but I think if you're getting that kind of money, then you can easily middle it if you watch it. Take Georgia in the points, middle it at halftime or middle it in the third if the game is still close. But what you can't have is if they come out like Alabama and just slap them around and then you lose all the opportunity, because then you have to wait till they, take the lead to make the money like you did. Then you end up, losing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you compare opponents, right? They both played Mississippi State at home, and look what happened. I mean, I know Georgia was comfortably up 34-10. But, I mean, they gave up 2 straight touchdowns, and the game ended up being close. Texas's defense is very good. They might be some of the best, one of the best defenses in the country. Shout out to my boy Connor Dilly, dude. How are you doing? Great friend.
Dilly.
Man. But, yeah, I'm telling you, man, I'm not going to be shocked if Georgia wins this game outright. Definitely take the +4.5. Definitely take any alt spreads regardless. And I think the under is a big play here. 57.5. I mean, to me, that's the play if you're looking for anything that's lock worthy. Just because with the combination of Texas defense, how good they are, and then parlay that with Quinn Ewers not looking right, I think to me that just screams for an under. So,
what do you think the spread is, by the way? I'm just seeing this because I'm going through my notes. Notre Dame is on the road at Georgia Tech.
I had that game pulled up, but I figured we were going over time. It was a 10-point spread, wasn't it?
8.5 now.
I was going to say Georgia Tech's a big play. I think take the points there. They've looked pretty damn good all year. They've just been a team I feel confident in without knowing a lot about them. I feel confident in them. Yeah.
That's a crazy number. I would have picked that.
I also highlighted Auburn and Missouri.
I like Auburn in the points a little bit, dude, but I think
the spread of that game opened at a touchdown.
I think Missouri wins that game, but I don't hate Auburn in the points.
I mean, personally, I think I like Missouri in the points there at -4.
Oh, it's at 4 now.
It opened at 7, which is crazy to me. I had that game highlighted as well. I am, and then obviously you've got number 6 Miami, another game. They have just looked very vulnerable the last 2 games, and it's come down to the end. Maybe a first half spread of like 2.5 or 3.5.
Yeah.
Or Louisville at home, who was ranked. They've lost some tough games. Notre Dame and SMU both aren't slouches. So like that would be something I feel okay with, just knowing how they play.
So
shout out to the bell going on here. That's a play I like.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give one away. I'll give it out. I like Illinois. Illinois. I think that it's the perfect spot to take them if you were going to take them. I don't like Michigan on the road. I think if you're ever going to, you're getting money at home in a pick'em game.
Big movement towards Michigan. It opened at -1. Now it's 3.5.
Yeah, I like Illinois in the points, or rather Illinois on the money line.
I think looking at this, just a struggle game against Purdue would maybe push me away a little bit there, but I'm not against it. I haven't looked into it a lot. So yeah, But other than that, man, put a bow tie on this, and it's going to be an exciting weekend of SEC football for sure.
I can't wait, bro.
I'm very excited to see how this plays out. I really hope we don't have to show up next week and talk about, how we're
stop.
I'm hoping that my prediction of being in a new era of football where some of those traditional things don't matter, as far as fade game, like field fade games, those games that are just trap games. That's mainly what I'm referring to. I'm hoping those don't exist anymore, and maybe we'll get a clear picture on how the SEC lines up after this week. We'll be more than halfway through the season. We already are, really, but we'll kind of have some clarity going forward on the SEC, which is, in my opinion, up there with the Big Ten. Both of those teams, I think the SEC as a whole is better, but Oregon and Ohio State, that game last week was very good. Both of those teams are going to do well in the playoffs. So, anything else from you, Coach?
No, bro, I'm liking it. Plays out for me in the morning. I'll probably have. I don't think I'll have like a full 6-pack. I'll probably play some individual ones because there's a couple.
I'll give you half if you want to split a 6-pack. You give 3, I'll give 3. Maybe
I kind of liked BYU tonight, the Fighting Mormons, in their game tonight. I don't hate them in the points. I think they're solid. I didn't love Purdue in the points. I think Oregon may run it up on them, but I wouldn't be surprised if I ended up doing like a combination of maybe like Alabama, Illinois, and somebody else, maybe Oregon State or Oklahoma State, maybe.
Yeah. Well, check out the Twitter for those plays. We'll both have a little card set out. And other than that, we will see y'all next week.
Let's run it up.
Hope everyone has a good weekend.